So I wanted to take everybody through kind of my crash course with the new software because I know all of you spent tons of time with that video, but it shows you some things you don't need to know and doesn't go into great detail on the things that are going to be very important for us. So starting off just with the regular treatment note, to get anything done, first your patient needs to be scheduled. So up here, this scheduler tab, and then you're going to click today. It'll bring you to your location. What you've got to make sure is up here in the corner that you're at the right location that you should be at to see your schedule. And then you'll see these patient appointments on here under your column. There's different options that you can change to how you view this. Do you want to look at it 24 hours? Do you want to look at just you throughout the whole week? These appointments can move, so you can click and drag to move much easier than you could. Same thing, they're contextually aware. If you click and drag down, you'll make the appointment longer or shorter depending on which way you go. The different colors will again match whatever that we're doing. So you can see here Medicare, commercial, orthopedic. We tried to keep the similar color scheme to what we're all currently used to. So if I double click on a spot and I start to type my patient's name, if for some reason they're not already scheduled, here's Minnie Mouse, so I can add her here. It says this patient doesn't have any insurance coverage. We've got to go to the case. So all of the data has got to be entered in correctly to really make anything of use going forward before you actually see the patient. The insurances have to be in, and other basic information for the patient's case needs to be in. So if we go back and we go to quick info, we can see, physician information, when their last progress note was, who did the evaluation, how many appointments the patient has, so on and so forth from this quick view here. If I double click, I can change this from a balance eval to balance treatment, Medicare. Again, save. The appointment changes its color. Where most all of you guys need to start to live from the clinical side is from your home dashboard. And if you go to your appointments here on the left side, you'll see your day will start to populate with the appointments that you see. So this is actual people that I've seen this morning. This little logo means that they're a Medicare patient. This gentleman was not. You can see again the type of the appointment, whether they've arrived or no-showed, canceled, whatever the case may be. Over to the other side here, these are if there's any follow-up notes like our to-do list that need to be done. The SOAP status, so you can see these have a green check because we've completed them, and it says all notes are completed and they've been signed. Same thing with the flow sheet. Same thing with the charge status, so the charges have been entered for this patient. So I'm going to go into Minnie Mouse and show you kind of the simple walkthroughs of what we're looking at. So for treatments, which we're going to be doing a lot of on day one, you're going to right click on flow sheet, and it's going to give you your options. I'm going to open it in a new tab so I can always come back to my dashboard whenever I need to get my next patient. So say Norman, we're going to be working with him. I can tab and I can get him open over here as well. And I can now move between working with Norman and working with Minnie Mouse. So if you see Norman over here, he's got some exercises that are already entered. If we go to Minnie Mouse though, she's got more. We can change how this goes by, I can go to template and I can go, I want a blank flow sheet. When I add that template, I've got nothing here to start. So if we've got stuff already started with the patient, it'll automatically appear. If for some reason you've got to start from scratch, or anytime it's that patient's first appointment, you're going to have to go to do that. Again, that was over at this little white sheet with the plus that says new treatment plan. When you click it, you're going to click the template that you want, blank flow sheet, and then add selected treatment plan. So we did that. Now we've got nothing displayed here. As we go forward, we can build templates. So if we go over to Minnie Mouse, she's got this template named balance. Well, at any point, once we build off of blank flow sheet, a robust set of exercises, maybe this is our vestibular hypofunction, unilateral hypofunction case that has a lot of VOR training and pieces in here, and we want to just save that skeleton over to the side. there's a button here that says save this treatment plan as a template. You would click it and you would name it, and maybe it's VOR emphasis or whatever we want to decide to name it is. And then next time you need to call that up, you would go to your add template and it would be listed here as, you know, VOR emphasis. You would click it and add, and then it would populate all of the exercises that you could do. Now, if we enter something in, the first thing that we need to do is go to Neuromuscular Re-Education. And then what is that treatment that we're doing? So here are some things that come up automatically. What I would recommend is going down to this button down here that says use plain text boxes and click that. And so now you can type whatever it is that you want. So many of the things that we've got going on are going to be not in the system initially. So this may be surfaces and then VOR times 1. And the tissue is that we're working on the vestibular system. So when I click add, it's going to say, hey, this was added successfully, and here I've got it down here. Now the important thing is this box is not checked. So this means I didn't necessarily do this exercise today, but I've added it to the patient's intervention plan. Now the patient has completed it, we spent 10 minutes doing it, it's automatically going to say, hey, we've done this today. But now in the future, this is where we can build those templates. You can have 25 exercises in the treatment plan, and you only check the ones that you've done with a time-related piece that you've done today. And here I might say, okay, well we did 2 sets of it, and there were 8 surfaces that we completed when we did it, and any treatment notes. Well, actually today we did it partial Romberg eyes open when we did it. And we're just going to continue to add these things. So maybe we're going to do in some exercise. And I want to point out, when I put something in that the system already knows. So I got this warning that I didn't save my note before hitting that. There's a save button right here, and there's a save button right here. So it carried everything over good. But if I had typed anything in these boxes, that would have disappeared. So when it says, are you sure you want to leave this page before saving? You would hit stay on this page, make your save, and then go forward. Now, see how this treadmill has a timed code by it? So if I enter in 15 minutes, it actually knows that this treadmill means it's 97001 or 97110. When I go to my charges, after we save what we've done, my charge sheet will already populate that I want 1 unit of Therex, because it knows that this Therex is related to a time-based code. That's what that clock symbol means. My VOR that I put in, even though I put it under the category of Neuro Re-Ed, it still gives you the option to confirm whether or not that you want it. So it's calculated 10 minutes of Neuro Re-Ed, but it didn't auto-populate my Neuro Re-Ed over here. So we're going to have to do that. Now my treadmill, I might put let's say 3.0 miles per hour in for this. And now we're going to add, what did this patient do? They did box squats. And I'm going to add it. So now I've got box squats. Again, it's not a code that it recognizes, but let's do 3 sets and 15 reps. And this is where you would add if they did a tension band, but this person did 135 pounds on their squat. So you can use this keypad to enter it in, or you can use your tabs. Now if you're going to enter in time, you can't just put 5 minutes. What the system does is it actually makes that 5 hours. So you have to put in colon 05. And it didn't work. So the better thing to do is to click your clock and then go there. If you use a scrolly wheel on a mouse, you can have that adjust the time by scrolling over it. So when I'm here and I use the scroll feature, I can have it do that. It's extremely sensitive, so probably not what we want to use regularly. But okay, we're going to do 5 minutes of squats, treatment notes. This is really what I want to use for if there's specific modifications or anything that need to get entered, but also using the objective pieces over here. So maybe this was increased load today. But if I want to make more detailed comments, I'm going to save it for this objectives box. So let's talk a little bit about these boxes over here. So I type my usual subjectives as needed. Don't do it, but patient feels good today. That better not be your subjective, but you know, filling something in. Okay, making our comments on patient still shows high levels of instability with VOR training. That we may carry that into a much more specific assessment. The ongoing problems of the patient with complex vestibular and visual input, blah, 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 whatever here. These are the things that we can also continue to create those snippets that I was talking about earlier. So right now I put in TX plan and it's not going to work. Oh, it did work. It just, my computer wanted to autocorrect it. Well, that's good. It recognizes TX plan was kind of our basic plan that we had in our old system, and it'll automatically finish that. So James and I are working on some general assessments and general reporting that we can find here. In objectives as well, we may add, you know, FGA repeated and or practiced with scores of 22 today, or Dix Hall Pike negative. Once we get to everything that we want done, again, remember, always save where we're at. If you use this copy previous notes, when you're doing your next treatment, it'll bring all of the S, O, A, and P forward so you can make your modifications as needed. On charges, we've got 30 minutes of time over here, but we don't have it correct over here. So I'm going to change this to 20 minutes to match our exercise. But then I also need to add a charge and get a nice error message. That's good. So let's go back to SOAP and save it and see if I can add a charge. Oh, I know why. The fee class drop-down list. So this patient doesn't have the right, they don't have a true insurance in, and that's why it won't let me add the correct charge. When you hit your add charges, it'll bring up all the possible things that you could have, and then it'll give you, again, units and minutes. So we don't want 20 units. We want 2 units and 20 minutes here. And there we go. We've got that. And it won't let me add the neuro in because of the patient not having a proper fee class, which is that yellow warning that's going on up here. So another important piece that says, hey, the service line Therex is missing an ICD-10 code to attach to. So the patient doesn't have any codes in. If I go to add diagnosis, I'm going to say, yes, I want to update the pointers for anything that I'm about to do. And what I need to do here is put in the code that I want. So R26.81. So it's listed as neurological. Let's see if it comes up. So it says no records to display. The easiest thing is just to take that body part filter off, and then you'll get every code that you need. So I check it, and I add that code. When I add another one, I can go back to here, and let's say R42. And I'm going to search for it. There we've got our dizziness. I'm going to add that code, and let's say we want to add something from the hip, but I don't know hip codes. If I just put in body part and hip, now I can get it to start bringing up hip specific code. So there's my pain in right hip. So I'm going to check it and add that code. So that's how I get all of my codes in. I can save those changes and exit out of that. So now the patient has ICD-10 codes. If I refresh here, hey, do you want to send this form again? It's always safe to give it a quick save. And what did we see? that alert for that 97110 code went away. So we still have our insurance issue that won't let me put the right charges in. And that was my mistake for using a patient that didn't have a good account to example off of. I can also switch between things up here. So right now we're in the flow sheet, but if I go to notes, this takes me to the library where a lot of my treatment notes are done, or my evaluation notes are done. But it also shows the things that I've been working on here for treatment. So if I wanted to add in objective testing, I can go over to objective testing. I could go down to functional tests, and I can add in a 5-time sit-to-stand. And maybe I want timed up and go. Well, let's use the FGA. So I'll put this in, and if I use this plus button, it'll add it to my note. And now we've got these boxes to type in. I've got to call them today because I was meddling with the FGA test, and I screwed up how the headings were. So in the past, they've always used current and previous. I was trying to put in initial and follow-up so we could have multiple spaces to enter data in over time, and it won't let me reorder them, so I'll figure that out so that it works for when we get ready to go. Very easy. If you want to take one of these out, you can just click the red X. If you want to report your findings right in here for reps, you can do that very easily. If you want to filter, I just want to see the objective pieces of today. So here's the objective piece that I wrote for the note. And if I hit the objective tab that matches the examinations, I can see just those. So these act as a filter, or I can have it just show me all the things needed for that note. If I was going to do a full-on evaluation, we'll do a separate video for that, but I've got to change my reports over here and pick eval, and then I can use this balance eval examination and start to populate all of my factors that are related to my evaluation questions. This floats with you as you move down, and this is your shortcut. So for a lot of features, this expand collapse, if I hit expand, it will open up all of those possible boxes that we could click into to pick. So we can do our G codes and everything like that in here, and then collapse will shrink them all down. You've got here to add your signatures to the page. So I can pull this up and I can add my signature or anybody else that I need to check. So maybe James is co-signing with me. I can add James's signature as well. This is where I can save my template for a SOAP note. So if I like my evaluation, I can save it so I can come back to it and use it again. This is how I can load whatever I've saved. Here's where we come to create a progress note. Here's where we can modify pieces of the plan of care. This is to copy those previous notes forward, add a follow-up. So that was our to-do in our old system. I can delete anything that I've checked that I want to delete. I can select a couple things and then delete it with one button rather than clicking each one. This is a select all or clear all boxes. This is what we use to add those notes over, and then the save, obviously, to save when needed. So really for treatment, you're going to be on this page the entire time. When you're done, you're just going to click your sign off button up here, and that will sign your note. Down here though, I just want to bring your attention to this show objectives. When I click it, now it pulls back any objective test that I have on record for the patient. So if you're a PTA or even a PT that is trying to go, what were the findings on this patient that were problematic, I can hit this button and I can see all of their results from their different tests. And that was just the very bottom button over here. This is where you can rename that treatment plan. This switches between your auto drop down and your free ability to type. So you want to use that one when you need to. We can do our hide all or unhide. This changes it to alphabetical, like list view, rather than grouped by modality type. This is, again, where we can put those signatures on the worksheet. And this hides our notes column, which I don't know where that went. I don't really notice the change, so figure that out a little bit further. Save this as a template, and then always remember save and load templates over here. So you don't need to do anything to push charges or things like that once the note's done. Once you sign it, the front desk and the back office will get confirmation of charges throughout the day, and they're just going to release them when they're able. And so that's really your treatment note.